Wow, boy, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? I mean, we're talking about an unfair competitive advantage, and I'm just delighted that Guillermina and Fernando Flores, they got married a couple of years ago, are back in Norte America. Actually, Fernando's been here. We'll talk about that. And Geisha just got here. So we're going to talk to you because we want to talk about, as I say, what's an unfair competitive advantage because the world is becoming more competitive. And a lot of us think we have an angle, and frankly, I think we don't. But some of us do, and the ones that do are the ones that should not only be celebrated, but I believe success leaves clues. So maybe we can learn from some of the somewhat best and the brightest, or maybe the best and the brightest, but we can learn to see how we might be able to do some unique things, if not extraordinary things, to make life even more enjoyable. So, Geisha, who speaks only Spanish, but see, we have something in common because I only speak English. And you blessed your boyfriend at the time to come all the way here. And most of the folks in neither family had ever been on an airplane. He'll be our translator. And you just spent all day at Disneyland, and I think you enjoyed yourself with Mickey Mouse. But tell us a little bit about that. Why was it that you thought it was okay to bless Fernando going 11-hour flight away, 12-hour flight away into North America, all the way from Argentina?
¿Por qué te pareció que era lo correcto darme el ok para viajar y hacer el viaje, hacer 12 horas de vuelo para viajar a Norteamérica?
¿Ahora?
Sí, en español.
Perdón, pero ¿está hablando de hace 9 años o de ahora?
No, de hace 9 años.
Ok, sí. Porque para él era importante, era una experiencia que él tenía ganas de hacer y yo decidía que si él quería, yo también quería y lo iba a apoyar. Entonces era algo que hacíamos juntos.
And she said?
She's saying that she knew that that was something, an experience I wanted to have at that time, and if I wanted to do it, she would do it with me, and she would share the experience with me.
And so far, you're good with this? This has worked out well for him and for you? I hope you say yes.
¿Funcionó? ¿Te pareció que valió la pena?
Sí.
And now you're here for 3 weeks, primarily in Northern California, but right now we're in Southern California. So now it's your turn. What gave you this notion that you wanted to do something unlike anyone in your family had done? Now, both your parents are dentists, so these are smart people. And you're one of 4, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, so I should recall pretty well correctly. And yet you said, yeah, you talk about it, because you can probably explain it better than I can.
Well, the truth is I was at my last year of high school and couldn't really figure out what I was going to do next in terms of school, because I would probably go to college and have a degree or something. I knew I didn't want to become a dentist, which was okay with my parents. I mean, they never asked me to do it. But I wasn't certain about what degree to go for during college. And in Argentina, you need to decide before you start. So a friend of mine had the experience of coming to the U.S. a year before me as a Rotary youth exchange student. So she was the one that kind of like encouraged me to take a look at the program and go to the website and download the forms and see what it was about. And I did. I showed it to my parents and I said, hey, I think this is a good choice for me because I have no clue about what's gonna be next for me, and this year abroad can help me figure it out. So they completely support me, and we started working on the paperwork. They started to think how they were going to pay for the flight ticket, which they paid in 12 different months along a year in order to send me here. And so we didn't even know where I was coming, because we ended up knowing that John was my host like the day before I was getting into the plane. So, and we were cool with that. I mean, we trusted Rotary, and we knew that everything would be fine. And so, yes, in terms of, how I see it today from what it was, I had no idea what this was going to be. I had no idea what the outcome could be. And the truth is that after my year here, I decided to go and study public relations. And because I found out that communication was one of my strengths and something that I really liked and enjoyed and I could be good at. So that's one thing that being an exchange student here helped me figure out. And after that, I went to college. I had my degree, and looking for a job was a lot easier when I could show people was recruiting that I had a really good English. I had experience outside the country, and I could be independent, and I could figure out how to survive in a different environment, very changing, very different culture and everything. So I think that gave me this edge, this advantage against other people going for the same kind of job. And after a couple of years, I got this job for this software company, which was doing some job for the U.S. from Argentina, and needed someone that could get in touch with Americans, that could really get along, and who knew how to communicate with people from here. And having the experience of living here for a year, I'm certain that I had a really good advantage against all the other people, even when they had really good resumes and they were really, very well prepared people. And I think that was a difficult advantage to beat for them. So I started working as an social network community manager, and I showed them that I could do more than that. And after a couple of years, now I'm working as business development for the company, doing business here in the US, and that's why I come here almost like twice a year. And currently I had the chance to spend a couple of weeks in Northern California, in the Silicon Valley area, doing business with major companies in the software industry, knowing that that's the best place to be if you want to.
That's the spot.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk in a minute about, because there was an aha moment, if I recall, in the interview process where you got the sense that they were down to 2 or 3 people, and you asked what they were really looking for, and that's when your confidence really swelled. But before we get there, get a little background. The Youth Exchange Program, this was hosted by the Rotary Club of Westlake Village Sunrise, and at the time, I was kind of like the club coordinator, which was interesting because I was responsible for helping a friend's son get to Japan, and then I learned on the job training that the reciprocal part of that is as it was explained to me, John, if you send one, you must receive one. And I'm like, I don't know you anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm done here. He says, no, you have to bring one in from another country. And I go, oh, okay, well, I'll go to the club and see who might be willing to host. And beautiful thing, I lined up like 4 families who said they'd be willing to host, and then probably the day after Burr found out he was coming here is when the first family said, we're moving to Vegas, so I can't host. And I'm like, you must be crazy. She said, well, that's true, but we're out. And so I went to the second family, and they said, guess what? We're not ready. We might be ready in the spring, but we're not ready. So my first 2 families effectively said no, and then I had to kind of go, geez, what do we do now? And the coordinator said, Rhonda Werner, geez, think about it for the weekend. And I'm like, I already gave you my answer. And by the way, I'm going through a divorce. I know it's going to be nasty, and I'll probably be living underneath a bridge somewhere. So I will be the ugly American. I'll be the worst person to be a host to anyone. But by Monday, I looked up and said, can you really say no? So I said yes, and we've had no regrets. It's been a wonderful thing. And to me, it's like I say, when we can see people doing extraordinary things, it helps all of us see what we can do that's certainly different. And I saw, getting off an airplane one day, an ad by HSBC Bank that read, there are more people in China learning English than there are people in England. I had to go look that up. There's 50, 60 million people in the UK. So they have 50, 60 million people in China learning English. My point is, if it comes to having a competitive advantage, it's about the language. Now, as I say, I can do English okay, but if you really want to make opportunities show up out of really nowhere, it means you have to be better prepared than most. And if you look at the world of 7.2 billion people, and best I can see, a good third speak English, a good third speak Spanish, and 1.6 million or so, 1.6 billion or so speak Mandarin Chinese. Now, gee whiz, if you get those three languages underneath your belt, tell me where you can go, and you know the answer. Wherever you want to go is where you can go, at least for the interview. And that's what became very interesting to me when I got the chance to meet some of these exchange students, whether they had gone away to wherever they went 5, 10, 15 years ago. What I got from them to a person is when it came time for them to apply for school or for a job, they got the interview. They didn't necessarily get the job, they didn't necessarily get accepted, but they got the interview in places they're convinced they would have never been able to show up, and people are interested in, well, why'd you go spend a year in Yugoslavia? Where is Yugoslavia? Are you Yugoslavian? But now you look interesting to the person who's looking at bringing someone in, and you're on the list, maybe the top 10 list of, geez, we really need to consider this individual. So getting back to you, as I say, I think there was a point in time where you were asking, I get there's, what were there, 2 or 3 finalists, so to speak? You want to take it from there?
I guess you're talking about, yes. So all of the 3 of us had really good English, even when maybe they had no spent a year in the U.S. They had really good education. So when I got there, I think what you want to say is that while I was here in 07, besides learning English, I decided to take some Chinese classes.
Right.
So I was at Westlake High School taking some Chinese classes in order to learn a third language, and so I was learning Mandarin Chinese through English, and and learning all the writing and everything.
But when they were the first interview, what didn't you come alive when they said, we really want someone who knows the U.S. of A. well, knows the culture and has been there for a while, and the other 2 people had not been here, so that was your advantage compared to the other applicants?
That's what I mentioned earlier. It's not the same, learning the language, other than having the sense of the culture, people, and being here. Not the same at all. And that's something that they figured out for the first, from the first interview, that I look much more interesting, because it wasn't just the language, but all of the other aspects of spending a year here, and not only knowing what words to use in terms of translating, but also how to communicate with the people here.
And part of what makes the Rotary Youth Exchange, I think, exceptional, I've been involved in a couple of youth exchange programs, but wasn't it like 50 kids, 15 to 19 or so, that were here with you in 07? Can you believe you were on your way? 9 years ago, because you came in, what was it, February of 07, left January of 08, is that right?
That's right.
It's 9 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But you guys, the way Southern California orients things for the students that come here from abroad, I believe there were over 50 of you guys from all over the world, and you have friends still from that experience.
Actually, yes. I have.
Locations around the world. And Southern California, Rotary organized a train tour. What was it? 17 cities in 30 days by train around the country. I mean, every time I tell that story, everybody says exactly what I say. I want to go. Well, that's the advantage of going when you're young, because it's a lot easier and it's less costly as compared to any other time after you get married and have kids. Nothing's that cheap again. But that was part of what made the experience certainly unique and more valuable as compared to some people that do a month or maybe it's a semester. Very different when you have
very different
time to meet people, get to know them, learn how to eat that food, and I guess those Argentines don't like hot food, right? Spicy food. No, no.
Spicy.
Surprise. So, but that was part of what made the experience different.
Absolutely. Actually, I still keep in touch with most of them. With the other exchange student, we spent that month over the train. And it was really fun. Actually, we got invited to a wedding in Africa.
Right, in Ghana?
In Kenya. We couldn't make it.
Right.
I mean, it's a really expensive flight and everything, and it couldn't work. But we'll still have, they already had a baby and everything. So, and through WhatsApp and all the technologies today, we get to stay in touch, like if we were, if we see each other every day. And also, I helped one of my French friends to come over to Argentina and take a semester in one of the universities at my city too. So it's like you get people that can help you like in every part of the world. If we are planning on going to Europe, I know that I got at least 10 to 15 people I can contact and say, hey, I'm planning on going. What would you recommend? Or can I have your phone number in case I have an emergency or whatever? And that's I mean, the world gets smaller because everything gets easier. And that's what we felt when we were all together in that train for a month. It was like, hey, we're not so different after all. I mean, it was amazing. Probably most of us had never had the chance to talk and get in touch so closely with someone from, let's say, like a Kenyan girl. Never in my life. I mean, there is no Kenyan people in Argentina, or even from some countries in Europe. So we got the chance to really get along and have and share a lot of moments and see that we could be talking about anything and the boundaries that we feel that they are there and we need to know I'm from Argentina and you are from Australia or you are from China. It's not how it works when you are one-on-one with the people and you see that you can communicate, you can get along, you can make friends, no matter where they are from.
And you hosted how many of those students for how long?
You mean my parents?
No, not the students who came to stay with your parents while you were here. What I'm saying, the other students that were part of the ones that you came to know in 07. Didn't you have several come visit you for a couple of weeks?
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Yes.
And those were all guys, right?
No.
Oh.
So we
tell us about this.
We made a really good group of friends during my year here, from Colombia, France, Italy, Kenya, and we decided to get together after a couple of years that we have met, and the choice was to go to Argentina first. And so they were all girls, and they went to Argentina, and we spent a few days at my parents' home and the city where I currently live, and then we took a trip and went visited some places in Argentina too.
So while the rest of us were bored all summer long, you were entertaining people from around the world. I mean, poor baby. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You okay? Well, we're really glad you're back. I'm really glad you're back. I'm glad we could do this, and I hope that we've encouraged other people to look at the Rotary Youth Exchange. The interesting thing is there's no fee. I'm not getting paid by them, by the way. This was something I thought would be advantageous for us and for other folks. And to me, it's about making the world a better place. And part of it's getting to know people that you normally wouldn't get to know. And then you discover Fur looked at me one day and said, "We're family." Guess what? We're family, Geisha. So we're family. So we'd like to make the family even larger. Check it out. Go to Rotary.org and talk to a local Rotarian. Go to a local Rotary club and see if that club is involved in the Youth Exchange program. Learn more about it. And as I say, it's not as complicated as it might sound. It is certainly, well, yeah, complicated to give up a year going to someplace you've never been before. You may never go back there again, but I can submit to you that if you do this, you won't be sorry. And I'll bet you too can have an unfair competitive advantage.